Hey everyone, Ahsan Raza here from the Ahsan Raza podcast. We are back for another episode, and in today's episode, we're going to give you a guideline on how to build a strong profile if you're applying for a lease or for a rental. So if you're a tenant or a prospective tenant looking to get something in the GTA and are struggling on how to prepare a strong profile, then this video will help you with everything you need to know in order for you to secure your next rental property. We're going to break this segment down into three different sections. Number one, we're going to talk about the baseline essential documents you'll need to submit a rental application. Number two, we're going to talk about some things that involve fraud, how to mitigate and avoid issues that will cost you dearly. And number three, we're going to talk a little bit about what you should be doing when you sign the lease and what you should be looking for in the lease agreement as a tenant. So let's start off with the baseline essentials. This is basically a list of documents that the landlord will ask you when you want to submit a rental application. So we're going to go through this like a laundry list. The number one thing you need to know is going to be a credit report with the score. You need to provide a credit report through TransUnion, Equifax, Borrowell, or any other financial institution and provide that to the landlord. It's always best to have a score that's in the 700s or 800s. That'll give you a stronger chance. So if you are having financial challenges and are having a lower credit score, it's also better to bring that up front to the landlord so that there's full transparency. Number two is a government issued ID. It could be your passport, it could be your driver's license, could be your work permit, your permanent residence card. This is required as well so the landlord knows that you have legal status in Canada. Number three is your employment letter. An employment letter tells the landlord where you work, how much money you make, how long you've been in the company for, and it gives them some assurance that you are employed and you'll be able to afford the rent. Number four would be 2 or 3 recent pay stubs. So if you have pay stubs from the last 3 months, add that to your application with your job letter and provide that to the landlord as well. Next thing is references and landlord reference as well. I find this to be very, very helpful. So if your prior landlord can provide you with a letter of recommendation, it could be a simple document or an email and you share that with the landlord. That also goes a long way. Even references of people you know, could be friends, family who've known you for a long time. They can also vet for you because a lot of times what landlords will do is they will call these references to get to know who you are. They'll also call the prior landlord to find out if you've been paying rent on time, if you've been a good tenant and whatnot. So a good landlord recommendation would be amazing to add into your application. So those are the baseline documents that you need to submit. Now, there are some additional things that I always like to add when I'm representing a tenant, and I find that it gives us an edge in this competitive rental market where it adds a bit of a personal touch, and landlords like that personal touch because they want to see who is actually going to rent their property. So here are some creative ideas that you might want to consider if you're comfortable with that you can share with the landlord to help you get a rental property secured. Number one is going to be a picture of you and your family. I find that this is extremely helpful. When you see someone's picture of a family, when they have kids, you see the parents, it kind of also pulls at the heartstrings a little bit and gives you a bit of an edge as well in the rental application process. So if you want to use your kids for something, use it for this process and you can put them in the front picture and really have them have those puppy dog eyes and hopefully have that give you a bit of an advantage in the rental process. The second thing you can do is a short 30-second to 1-minute video. I've had people actually send this to me recently, and I thought it was a pretty cool idea where they would just talk about who they are and what they're doing from their employment to what their hobbies are and what their plans are long term. So I thought that was a pretty interesting idea because this way I get to know the tenants even more when it's in the video form. Now, some of the last items that you want to include in your rental application, along with all the documents and the video and the picture, would be a LinkedIn profile if you have one that's active. LinkedIn is a great resource for landlords or realtors to go back to and kind of verify that you are working and what your employment history is. Obviously, not all profiles are going to be real, but if you can add your LinkedIn profile to your application, whether it's a screenshot or a link of it, that will actually go a long way and build some credibility in your application. Last but not least, it's very, very important to have a clean social media and online presence. A lot of times, people will Google you online first before they do anything else. If they find something that they don't like, for example, if your social media is showing you partying all the time and doing all these weird things, it's going to leave a negative impact. So you want to make sure that whatever you are doing online, whether it's on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Google, have a professional image out there. Whether you're looking for a rental property or not, I think it's just important because you never know what you might want to do in the future. And having a good, clean online presence will actually go a long way in helping you get the rental property and anything else in general. Now, a lot of times students are looking for rental properties and they have a difficult time because they're obviously not working. They may not have a credit history if they're foreign students. So what can a student do in this situation when they're looking for a rental property? So a lot of times I recommend the student to have their parent or relative who's living in Canada to be a co-signer or a guarantor. And we'd simply ask the co-signer or the parent to ask them to provide the same information, the same list of documents I mentioned to you above, to provide that, and they can be the guarantor on the application or the lease. Number 2 is proof of enrollment of your school. So enrollment letter of, let's say, the university you're in or the program you're in, build some credibility as well. Any scholarships or funding letters you've received, that also helps the landlord know and gives them some comfort that at least most of your education or some of it is being paid so that you have the rest of your funds to pay the rent. So that covers the basic baseline essentials. Last thing you want to know is that a lot of times when you have this list of items, sometimes it gets complicated and you can send these items individually to the landlords, and the landlords get a bit confused as well because you have 10 or 20 different documents that are coming their way. And sometimes it's not just about who you are that can help you get a property, but it's also how you present your profile. So when I represent a tenant and I've collected all of these documents from the job letter to their photo ID, to their photo, to their video, whatever it is, what I do is I organize it in one single file, PDF or Word document, and I send that single file to the landlord or the landlord's agent. When they receive that file in one single clean document and it's organized, then that will help you even more because now the landlord knows this person is organized, this person actually cares, and he actually wants to get the property, he's serious about it, and it just makes it so much easier for both parties to read and communicate. So that covers the first section. The second section, I want to talk about how to mitigate and avoid situations if you're looking for rental property, especially when it comes to fraud. Now, if you are searching for a property online, whether it be Kijiji or MLS or any of these private websites, a lot of advertisements on those websites can be fake and can be misrepresented. So I've seen situations where somebody has posted an ad and they'll get a call from a prospective tenant who's interested in the property and they're not even the owners. And what they'll do is they'll say, send me a deposit of the first and last month, and then I will show you the property. And then when they do that, the person who put the ad up is nowhere to be found. This has happened a lot of times. And so to cover and protect yourselves, always make sure that the ad is legitimate. And one way of doing that is to contact the owner or the person who is putting the ad up and asking them questions about the property. Like, where is the property? What's the address of the property? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? You want to kind of cross-reference everything. And if they ask you for a deposit up front before showing it, that's a big no-no and that's a big red flag. So right away, you don't even want to contact or stay into communication with that person because that's probably going to be a situation where you lose your money and the property. The second thing is doing a Zoom interview or a phone call with a prospective landlord. So if you have found a property you like, It's very important for the tenant to also interview the landlords. Oftentimes, it's the other way around where you think the landlord is interviewing the tenant. Well, it kind of goes both ways because the tenant also has to be comfortable knowing who their landlord is. And before you sign on the dotted line, it's always good to have that call with the landlord. I always prefer Zoom because it's a face-to-face or in person, and you want to know if it's going to be a good fit. If you feel the landlord is being very nitpicky or has a bad attitude, then that might be a red flag because you're going to be in that lease for the next 1, 2, 3 years. And you want to make sure that the person you're dealing with is going to be a good person and they're not going to cause you any trouble. Last thing would be the state and condition of the house. It's important to know what condition that property is in. So when you find a property, before you sign, before you decide to officially go forward with this, make sure that you do an inspection with the landlord or a walkthrough, and you make sure everything is working in proper and is functioning properly. You don't want to move in and have to find out that the toilets are not working, the kitchen sink is not draining properly, or the faucets are broken, or the furnace is broken. You want to see these things beforehand. So even in your first or second visit to the property, look for these things, look for any damages, any issues. And if you see those damages and if you see any issues, point them out right from the front so that they can be addressed before you move in and get the keys. The last segment is going to talk about what to look for in a lease agreement. So now that you've found your property and you're ready to move forward, you're going to go sign a lease agreement. Now, there's a bunch of things that are supposed to be put into the lease agreement, but I'm not going to go through all of them because it'll take us another 2 hours. I'm just going to kind of go through a quick summary of some of the most important things that you need to know. So number one, understand and know which appliances are coming with the property. So if you see a fridge, stove, dishwasher, washer, and dryer in the property, make sure that every single one of those items are mentioned in the lease agreement because you don't want to have any surprises when you move in. You find out that, I don't know, maybe a washer is missing or a dryer is missing. And it kind of seems strange, but it has happened before. And when the tenant calls out the landlord for it, the landlord will say, well, we never included it in the lease agreement. And so you want to make sure that every single appliance is mentioned in the agreement. Second thing is you want to know who is responsible for lawn maintenance and snow removal. Oftentimes, this is a shared responsibility. There's legal rules around this as well as to who really is responsible. I'm not here to provide you any legal advice, but you want to make sure and understand with the landlord who is responsible and have that clearly written in writing so that there's no confusion afterwards as well. The last few things you want to make sure that are written in the lease agreement is what is going to be the actual lease price. Will it include utilities or not? Will the house come furnished or not? What's going to be the internet situation? Is that going to be included or not? What's going to be the move-in date? Is it going to be a month out or 2 weeks out? What is going to be involved when you get the keys, or do you have to pay via e-transfer or post-dated checks? There's a whole list of things that you need to make sure that are intact before you sign the dotted line because you don't want any surprises. Now, as a service, what I provide for my clients or for my tenants is obviously the lease agreement and what comes with that, all the clauses, all the important notes that we need to put in there. We have a standard template that I help my clients with. So if you are working with me or any other realtor, you don't have to worry about these things as much because we already have a standard set of templates for you. But if you are going alone and you're finding something on your own and you need help and you just want to have us review the document, we'd be happy to review that document for you free of charge and help you ensure that your lease agreement is a real lease agreement and there's no surprises in there. I hope that information was helpful. If you are a tenant looking for a rental property or a lease, please use this video as your guideline, and you can also call me. And if you are looking for a property to rent out in the GTA, reach out to myself and my team, and we would be happy to help you in the process.